Hello, beautiful YouTube. Hello, beautiful YouTube. It is, I hope everybody's having a wondrous day. I know I am. And today I want to talk about a continuation of what we've been discovering and exploring, talking about the subtle body, Kundalini awakenings, magic, power, spell casting, and I want to continue to share some wisdom that I feel like will really benefit all people at this time and just allow each and every person to come one step deeper into their direct communion with divine source love of all of life. Okay, so I have been on a healing journey since I casted a spell with two people who were probably working with occultist energy that I did not realize at the time. To tell you the truth, I was quite naive and just childlike in my understanding of a lot of things. Like, I didn't grow up going to church of any kind, and so I had not had any schooling in this whole idea of spirits and like spiritual energies. And also I think from a very like open, trusting, childlike place, I sat down to a spell which I believe had a good intention. It was a spell that had the intention of really helping and serving humanity at large, which is probably why I'm still alive. And I have been learning from some of my teachers that there are occult mechanisms that can force people to have Kundalini awakenings before they're ready, before their body is purified, And when this happens to someone, it is, I can just speak from experience, it's like a very painful thing to have to go through a forced Kundalini awakening that you're not prepared for and ready for from a spiritual perspective, with a guide and a mentor to be there for you. And so with this upcoming eclipse, I am really just closing out this chapter of my life in full, and I am been guided to share the wisdom that I have gleaned from this place. Okay, so before I begin, just I have to protect my sensitivity because I am very open, so clearing anything that is full of hate, is a spy, is malevolent, is inorganic, artificial, or de-evolutionary from this space. I do not consent to you, and we do not consent to you, and see you later. Come back if you change your mind. Okay, so I think being forced to confront some of the darkest truths of humanity's shadow from the place that I was back then, I will say that I guess I'm glad. I'm glad because of where I am today, and because of how much I even more believe in the power of poetry and the power of creativity and the power of divine inspiration. I really do thank God that I had doctoral level training in an art form prior to coming into an experience like this, and like, thank God that that I had the teachers and guides and mentors that I had in the poetry world to prepare me for an experience like this. So okay, where should I begin? Well, I want to explain something about my younger self. So my first formative relationship was from age 17 to 27. It was like a 10-year span of my life. And upon breaking up, I found out a lot of things about the person I was with that had I found those things out much earlier, I would have left this relationship far before that point, okay? But essentially, like many women have to learn, I learned that my boyfriend was a cheater, and I forgive him and I forgive the whole situation because I understand that people who disrespect others are really just disrespecting themselves, and people who lie to others are usually just lying to themselves. And so that was a great betrayal in my life. So of course, my divine creative self would align me up with another situation where my discernment and ability to have clarity about people in my life would be presented to me again. And I think in life we will keep having situations like this until we awaken and we are able to have that same lesson showing up with a different face, a different place, a different experience, different people, different time, but exact same lesson, just presented in a different way. So we learn. Okay, so we learn the lesson. And the lesson for me is kind of like I've been feeling it as like, okay, knowing what I know about everything I know about now, what would I say I have a daughter or say I have a son? What would I tell them? What would I teach them? Okay, I would really hope to instill within both of my children the knowledge of their sovereign divinity and the clarity and power and purity and accuracy of that which is divine source. You cannot pull the wool on God. Like he, she, we said he. So he is often the way we've been presented God, source of all of life in this incarnation as a human being on earth. Okay? I'm including all of God the Father and all of Divine Mother in my, what I have come to know as pure source life, that original point of all that is. So this original source is omnipotent. It is all-powerful. It is omnibenevolent. It is good. It is for life, okay? Good is something that is for the evolution of life itself, for the betterment of humanity, for the success and victory of the good, the beautiful, and the true. These philosophical ideals that all humans really have in their heart. And this source is omniscient, meaning it's everywhere all at once, and it's all sensing and all hearing and all seeing and all knowing and all feeling and all, it really is like, it can use the dark. It can use tricksters. It can use the dark to actually put you back on the path that this beautiful source of all of life wants you to be on. And I really feel that I know that as like a deep Gnostic understanding. And I know that there's so many different ways people define Gnosticism. So I want to just be very clear with my definition of like Gnostic coming from Gion of the ancient yoga, like the knowledge that is self-derived and comes from within through the unmistakable experience of being in direct communion with that divine source of all of life and the divine self that is part and parcel of all that is in the most equality, equanimity way possible. Okay, this deep understanding. Now, I was drawn into the mystique and the allure of this this person, because it's like people, and this is true of people who practice occultism, okay? They can have really developed astral bodies or causal bodies or radiant bodies, and yet they can have very diminished or undeveloped emotional bodies or mental bodies. And this is like when we think, who's coming to example, Yogi Bhajan and the whole scandal that happened with like the Kundalini community. Okay, Yogi Bhajan is an example of somebody who did have a lot of spiritual power, but obviously if he was raping women, he had a very underdeveloped mental and emotional body. And so this can happen, and I feel like as we're moving into the future, and as all of humanity is going to start seeing all of this. I mean, I know I'm seeing it already in my communities, like people doing incredible things, but it also matters about these people's character. And like, are they loving beings like in the physical world? Like, how are they treating their spouse? Are they in integrity in that relationship? How are they treating their friends? Are they kind and loving to their friends? How are they, and it's just so nuanced. It's just such a nuanced conversation, because there's this quote, and my mom often says it to me: there's so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us. It doesn't behoove any of us to talk about the rest of us. And that's true. And I hope that by me sharing my story and giving voice to this, that I'm not trying to talk about someone. I'm doing this from a place of I have to heal. And the way that I heal is by sharing the wisdom that I have learned, having gone through the experience that I went through. And I just feel like if I sat down at that spell and I was chasing some type of power that someone was demonstrating to me, that was a false power. Because what I have learned power to be is God source life. I mean, it is so beyond the idea that any person could cast a spell. And yes, people do cast spells, and yes, there is a way to bend energy and to skip timelines, and there are ways that we can have this healing and this power, but it's like it doesn't belong to. True power doesn't belong to the person that wields it. Just like true self-worth, your worth is in the worth that God's source energy is. Like, that's what your actual self-worth is. This is why it's silly to think back at my younger self that had low self-worth because of my first formative relationship. And I'm glad that I can trust myself now. I'm glad that I can see through people's bullshit now. I'm glad that I am slow to build trust with, and it takes time. And I'm glad that I can see both the light and dark aspects of this world, because it's all one thing. It's all part of what is whole, but also there is an integrity and a virtue in the way that we can come to know ourselves as divine body temples for that source energy. And so, yeah, I think that's the end of the message. I just want to I was very called to this Egyptian deck, so I'm going to get an Egyptian message here. Nephites, soul healing. Perfect. Soul healing. Yes. May we all come into deep soul healing and just remember that there is great wisdom in trusting divine source, because like I have absolutely learned that I can trust my divine creator to see through my eyes, to hear through my ears, to think through my mind, to speak through my mouth, to feel through my body, to dance through my body, to move through my fingers. I truly believe that the humanities, like the actual humanities departments, the human art forms, these organic, inspired gifts of creativity that we can give to all of life, this is where the true healing happens for this time that we're in as a people. And it's actually really, really beautiful. And so, you know, while I do wish that my awakening into, you know, some of these bodies had been softer and gentler and with more ease, and I also am grateful to be living, you know, like instead of just living from this third dimensional perspective that I once was, I'm living from a different part of my body. And just to say too, like, this is a cross-disciplinary study that I've been doing of different light bodies and how they talk about them in traditions. So by no means is this like the ultimate or one true way to think about the subtle body, but I have studied the koshas and all that comes from the yogic Kundalini Vedic traditions, the 10 bodies in Kundalini yoga, the way the ancient Egyptians thought about the light body, also some of what Richard Rudd teaches about the light body, and also some of what the Christian mystics like Rudolf Steiner teach about the light body. And, you know, this is for everyone. This is for every human. Every single human being that has the dedication and the devotion and the fortitude and the strength and the time and the true yearning of the heart to live in their subtle body. And maybe it should be more like an egg, because I do experience it more like an egg, but that is something that can happen to each and every person. And my gift is to share with each and every person that you should go on the divine pace to that. Take your time, go slow. You know, you're perfect as you are, just as you are today. There's no need to rush. And if you did rush, or you have been rushed through a plant medicine or a plant spirit or an occult mechanism or something like that, then God's source is there for you and you can get through it. Like, really, I sometimes want to weep because I'm alive. And I really believe without the power of Divine Father and Divine Mother that I may not have been alive, because it was that difficult. And so I don't say that as like wanting your pity or no, like, I am not a victim. I fully chose to sit down, and I've examined why I did sit down and what I was looking for, and why I was in the situation I was in, and what I wasn't seeing about the people I was sitting with, and what I wasn't seeing about myself, and all of the things, okay? But I do believe that there is a softer, easier, gentler path, and that is when we have teachers who can teach and can guide and can help people go step by step by step by step and be led with like teachers who are in deep integrity and holding like these philosophical virtues of what it means to, you know, I just heard kingmakers, like women. We need more women teachers, I think, in this space. I think there's been a lot of male teachers in this space. I think it's time for there to be more female teachers in this space. And maybe that's the path I'm being drawn to, and I might be drawn to just get off the internet in all entirety, honestly, but I guess we'll just see one day at a time. So much love to all the listeners, especially the people that have been following this journey from the beginning. And yeah, sending love and peace to all.